So now in continuation, in today's session, we will do some more questions based on probability. Okay, now look at this question number 6. Two different dice are rolled together. Find the probability of getting the first part. You have to find the sum of numbers on two dice to be 5, right? Means you have to find the probability that the sum of the numbers on the two dice is 5. Then in the second part, you have to find the probability that even number on both the dice will come. And in the third part, you have to find the probability that it will be a doublet, right? A double number, the same number on both the dices, right? So here there are two dices which are rolled together, and now you have to find out the probability of these things, right? So this question came earlier, like in CBSE 2015, right? So let's see how to do this. So the very first, what we should know, like when we throw two dices simultaneously, what can be the possible outcomes, right? Okay. So right now, when two dices are thrown, simultaneously, right? Number of possible outcomes. What will be the number of possible outcomes? How you will find? In each dice, there are how many outcomes? In each dice, there are how many outcomes? There are 6 edges, and on every edge there is a number, right? So on every face there is a number. So there are total 6 numbers, right? And there are two dices, right? So what will be the possible outcome? It will be the exponential of 6, right? Means square of 6, right? Because you are throwing two dices and each dice is having possible outcome 6, right? So what will be the total number of possible outcome? How you will find it? It will be 6 squared, 6 to the power 2, right? If suppose you are throwing three dices together, right? Then what will be the possible outcome? It will be 6 to the power 3, right? Here we are throwing two dices together, so it will be 6 to the power 2. So this is 6 to the power 2 is 36. So how many total outcomes will be there? 36. However, we are not writing here all the 36 outcomes, right? Okay, we will directly write those favorable outcomes when we find the probability of the events in these given parts. Okay, so now it will take time. If you want, you can write it down on your own, right? So there are total 36 number of possible outcomes, right? Now, let's see the first part. What we have to find here? In the first part, we have to find the sum of numbers on two dice to be 5. Means the sum of the number in both the dices should be 5, right? So what can be the possible outcomes, right? So what is the event here? Suppose E1 is the event, and event is that getting the sum of number 5, right, equal to 5. Is that clear? So this is our event. Now what are the favorable outcomes for this event? So favorable outcomes, you can write down favorable outcomes for this event where the sum is 5, right? So what can be the possible outcome? 1 comma 4, right? In one dice you are getting 1, and in another one you are getting 4, so this is 5. 2 comma 3, right? This is 5. 3 comma 2, in first one you are getting 3, and another one you are getting 2, and 4 comma 1, right? So these can be the possible outcomes, favorable outcome for this event to happen, that the sum of the numbers on the dice is 5. Is that clear to everyone? Now what are the total number of favorable outcome? What is their number? Number of favorable outcome is 4, right? Now we can easily find the probability of getting two numbers whose sum is 5, right? So right now, therefore, probability of getting sum equal to 5, right? This is equal to PE1, that is total number of favorable outcome, that is 4, divided by total number of the possible outcome, that is 36, right? So this is 4 upon 36, which is 1 by 9, right? So in this way, we have got the probability of getting the sum of the numbers equal to 5. Is that clear? Right? Now, in similar way, we can find the second part. Now, in second part, what we have to find? Look at here. Even number on both the dices. Means on both the devices, on both the dices, you are getting even number, right? So again, we will first write down what is our event. Suppose E2 is our event, and event is getting even numbers on both dices, right? On both the dices, right? This is our event. Now, what are the favorable outcomes for this event? So write down favorable outcomes will be favorable outcomes where both the numbers on the dices are even. They are like 2 comma 2, right? 2 comma 4, right? Then 2 comma 6. Okay. Now then 4, 2, 4, 4, 4, 6. So in this way, you can write down all the possible options which can be there. Then we can take, so what we are doing, we are taking, 2, then 4. Now next time we are taking 6, which is the even number on the first dice. Now we can change the other one. So 4, this is 6, 2, then 6, 4, and 6, 6. Right? So in this way, we have got all the favorable outcomes where we are getting even number on both the dices. Now, what is the number of favorable outcome? Number of favorable outcomes are 9, right? You can count them. These are 9, right? 3, 3, 3. That is 9. So total number of favorable outcomes is 9. Now we can easily find the probability of getting even number on both dices, right? This is equal to PE2 even 2, right? And this is number of favorable outcomes divided by total number of outcome, which is 36, right? So write down 9 upon 36, that is 1 by 4. So PE2 is 1 by 4. So in this way, we have got the probability of getting the even number on both the dices, that is 1 by 4, right? And here we have got the probability of getting the sum of the numbers on both the dice is equal to 5.
What's a doublet?
So now in the third part, we have to find what is the probability of getting a doublet. Doublet means getting same number on both the dices, right? Double number. Is that clear? Like 1, 1, 2, 2, like this, right? Okay, so suppose E3 is the event that you're getting a doublet. Okay, now we will first find what are the favorable outcomes for this event to happen. Favorable outcomes, right? So write down what can be the favorable outcomes. 1, 1, that both on both the dices you are getting 1, 1, then 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, right? Then 5, 5, and 6, 6, right? These can be the possible outcomes, right? When both the numbers are same on the dices, right? Now, what is the number of favorable outcomes? Favorable outcomes are 6 in numbers, right? You can count them. These are 6, right? Okay, now total number of outcomes, total number of possible outcomes, we already know. What is that? That is 36, right? Now we can easily find the probability of getting a doublet, right? This is our event E3, right? So probability of getting the event E3, this is number of favorable outcome for that event to happen divided by total number of possible outcomes. So 6 upon 36, which is equal to 1 upon 6. So in this way, we have got the probability of getting a doublet, means a double number, both the numbers on the dice are same, and this is 1 by 6. Is that clear? So PE1, right, means probability of getting sum equal to 5. This is 1 by 9, right? The first part of the question. Then in second part, the probability of getting even number on both the dices is 1 by 4, right? This is our second part. And in the third part, probability of getting a doublet is 1 by 6, which is our third part. Is that clear? So in this way, first identify what you have to find, right? What is the meaning? What is the language which is used here? Try to understand the meaning properly for that, for the question given there. And then go step by step, right? Okay, first identify what is the event, then according to that event, find out the favorable outcomes as we have done here, right? And in all other parts, right? Then count these favorable outcomes, right? That will be the number of the favorable outcomes. And then we can easily find out the probability. Why? Because we know that probability is number of favorable outcomes, right? Divided by total number of possible outcomes, right? For that random experiment, right? So this is the theoretical probability. So this is very important to identify the event correctly. Is that clear? Okay, so then only you will be able to get your answer correctly. Is that clear?
Yes.
Now look at this question number 7. A game consists of tossing a 1 rupee coin 3 times, right? As we generally, play this game with our friends, right? So tossing a 1 rupee coin 3 times, okay? And noting its outcome each time, right? So at one side there is a head, another side there is a tail, right? And we are tossing it 3 times, and every time we are noting down the result. Now, Hanif wins if all the tosses give the same result, right? Either HHH, either or TTT, right? Means 3 heads or 3 tails. Else he will lose. right? Now what you have to find? You have to find the probability that Hanif will lose the game, that he will lose the game. You have to find the probability of this event to happen. Is that clear? Right. So now, when we are tossing three coins, right? Very first, we should write what can be the possible outcomes, right? So in tossing a 1 rupee coin, when tossing 1 rupee coin three times, right? So we are tossing single coin three times, right? So what will be the possible outcomes, right? So can you tell me what will be the possible outcome, right? Number of possible outcomes. First, write down what are the possible outcomes. Possible outcomes will be HHH, right? HHT, HTH, THH, HTT, THT, TTH, and TTT, right? So these are the possible outcomes when we toss 1 rupee coin three times, right? Total number of possible coin, total number of possible outcomes are now total number of possible outcomes. This is equal to 2 to the power 3, right? So how many outcomes are there for a single coin? It is 2, and you are tossing it three times. So 2 to the power 3, that is 8. So you can count them. These are 8 outcomes, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So there are 8 possible outcomes because you are tossing a single coin three times. Is that clear? Now, what is the event here? Let E be the event. What is this event? That it is getting three heads or three tails, right? Three heads or three tails, right? Then what will be the favorable outcomes for this? Favorable outcomes will be favorable outcome of event E to happen, right? This is HHH and TTT. That means you are getting the same result all the three times, right? That means what is the number of favorable outcomes? Number of favorable outcome are two only, right? We have only two outcomes which are favorable to this event, right? Now, first we will find out that the probability that Hanif wins the game. That means we are finding the probability of this event to happen, that all the results are either head or tails, right? Is that clear? So probability that Hanif wins the game, wins the game, this is equal to the probability of getting three heads or three tails, right? Of getting three heads or three tails, then only he will win, right? That means this is PE, which is equal to, now what are the number of favorable outcomes for this E? 2, and total number of possible outcomes are 8. So this will be equal to 2 by 8, right? That is 1 by 4. This is the probability of what? This is the probability that Hanif wins the game. But what we have to find? We have to find that what is the probability of that Hanif loses the game, right? That probability that Hanif will lose the game, right? We have to find the probability of this one, right? This event to happen. So this will be always 1 minus, means what is this now? This is the complementary event. Yes or no? If this is your event, then this will be your complementary event. Getting that? So you can also write it down as P E bar complementary event, and this will be always equal to 1 minus PE, right? So you can subtract this from 1. So 1 minus PE is 1 by 4, right? So write down 1 minus 1 by 4, which is equals to 3 by 4. So what is the probability that Hanif will lose the game? It is 3 by 4, right? So accept these two outcomes, HHH and TTT. Every time he will lose the game, right? So there are only two number of favorable outcomes. Rest 6 in these outcomes he will fail, right? He will lose the game. Is it clear? So you can either find out that, right, that Hanif will lose the game, and then you will write down the favorable outcomes other than these two outcomes, right? Either you can do this, right? Getting it? Or you can find the probability of getting three heads and three tail, and then you can subtract it from 1. Then also you will get the same answer. Is that clear? So in this way, we can do the questions related to, the probability. Now, now let's see what are some facts about the playing cards. right? We all use playing cards while playing, right? So in total, these cards are 52, means this is a deck of 52 cards, right? Total 52 cards, in which there are four suits, means four types of cards are there, right? So there are four suits: spade, diamond, club, and heart, right? You can see the picture here, how they look like: spade, diamond, club, and heart, right? And of each suit, there are 13 cards, means 13 of spade, 13 cards of diamond, 13 cards of club, and 13 cards of heart, right? So this is how 13 into 4, right? We are having 52 cards in total, means there is a deck of 52 cards, right? Now, this spade and club, as you can see here, spade and club, this and this, these are black in color, right? Whereas and heart and diamond, these are red in color. Okay. Now, among these different types of suits, right? Among these different types of cards, there are total 12 face cards, right? Which are having faces. Other cards are having numbers, but there are 12 cards which are face cards, right? And among these face cards, there are four kings, okay, four queens, and four jacks, right? So these are total 12 face cards in which we have in the total 52 deck of 52 cards in the deck, right? So there are four kings, four queen, and four jacks, right? A, which you can see here, A, the card which is shown here in the diagram, in the figure, this is ace, right? So there are four aces, right? So that's how these are something about the playing cards which we should know before doing the questions in probability on this deck of cards, right? So there are so many different questions which can sometimes which come generally in exams also, based on playing cards, right? So to do these questions, we should first understand, we should know, we should have the knowledge about these playing cards, right? So you have you might have played, right, with these cards sometimes, right? Okay, so you already have the knowledge about it, right? So these are the things which we should know, like before solving the questions. So now let's see